Hello, this is the Bible in Fewer Words. We are Carol and Steve Wells. This is episode 14, Genesis chapter 29 and 30.
Okay, so where'd we leave off last time?
I think Jacob was on his way to, or reached Haran, was standing around the well.
Right.
Rachel, Laban's daughter, approaches the well,
right,
and he kisses her, and she says, "Come on home and meet my dad."
Right, and Isaac had asked him to go marry Laban's daughter, so it's all working out as planned so far.
Perfect.
Right. So she's invited him home.
Yep.
And now that's where we're taking up here, right?
Yes.
Okay. Am I going to start this one?
I think so.
Okay. Verse 13. This is verse 13 of chapter 29. Laban invited Jacob to stay at his house and said to him, "How much should I pay you for working for me?" Jacob said, "I'll serve you 7 years for Rachel." Laban said, "Okay." So Jacob worked for Laban for 7 years.
So
that's dedication for you, huh?
That is dedication.
7 years for Rachel.
She must have been beautiful.
She must have been, yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, so usually a woman gathers a dowry all throughout her life so she can present herself to a man.
Well, I don't know if that's the way it was here. I don't know about that. I don't know what the custom was here.
Okay.
I doubt if the custom is you have to work 7 years to get a wife.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way it's happening here, and I guess that Jacob is okay with that.
All right, so he's worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
So Jacob worked for Laban for 7 years. After the 7 years were over, Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife so I can have sex with her." But Laban brought Leah to Jacob, and Jacob had sex with Leah. Who's Leah?
Yeah, I that's one thing that I didn't make too clear here, but the Bible does. It makes it clear that Leah is Rachel's older sister. She's the oldest sister, and Rachel is younger, probably the next oldest.
Okay, so his deal was to have Rachel, not Leah.
Yeah, so Laban has tricked him. He brought Leah instead of Rachel, and so he married.
He married the wrong
Leah.
girl.
And the way you marry someone is just kind of go into the tent. Remember that? We kind of learned that before. No big ceremony. If they had a ceremony, he probably would have recognized that he was marrying the wrong person. Okay, so where are we now? Verse 25. Jacob thought he was having sex with Rachel, but in the morning he saw that it was Leah instead. Jacob confronted Laban about it, saying, "I was supposed to get Rachel, not Leah." Laban said, "In our country, we don't give away the younger before the firstborn. Work for me for another 7 years, and I'll give you Rachel too."
Okay, wait a second. Doesn't this seem crazy? You'd think that Laban might have told him, like in the first year as he was working for Rachel, "Hey, you're not going to get her. You're going to get Leah because she's older."
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. It didn't happen that way, I guess.
And how could he not know he was having sex with
that happens
Leah?
A lot in the Bible. Remember that Lot had sex with his daughters, and he didn't know what had happened.
Okay, yeah.
And we'll see that it'll happen again later on. So it's a frequent occurrence in the Bible. Where
you have sex with someone and you think it's someone else.
You don't know who it is, yeah.
Okay. So Jacob worked for another 7 years. And Laban gave him, are there any other sisters around?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Gave him Rachel. Finally, after 14 years of work, Jacob had sex with Rachel. And he loved Rachel more than Leah.
Yeah, and that's not just my statement there. That's what the Bible says.
That Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah.
Just like that.
Just like that, okay. So when God saw that Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah, he opened Leah's womb. Oh yeah, because all this whole time he's having sex with Leah. for the first 7 years?
I guess so. Maybe not. Maybe he just had it that one night, and then waited. He was tricked, and then waited 7 years, and then
had sex with Rachel. Okay.
I don't know.
So God's feeling sorry for for Leah, and so he opens her womb, but Rachel was barren.
Right.
Okay, so Leah conceived and had 4 sons: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. I take it she didn't have quadruplets.
No, I don't think so. I think they would mention that. So these must be just regular births, single births. So time is passing here. We've already had 14 years. Mm-hmm. And now we've got at least, 3 or 4 more years.
Yes.
So it's about 18 years after he arrived.
Okay, so he's got 4 sons now.
Yeah, and they're all with Leah. Okay, so chapter 30, verse 1. When Rachel saw that she couldn't have children, she envied Leah, and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I will die."
Have I heard that line before?
Probably. I noticed it when I was beginning to read The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh.
It's the quote up at the top of the first chapter, as I remember.
Give me children, or I will die.
Right.
Yeah, that's a serious one.
Jacob said, "Don't talk to me about it. Talk to God." But luckily, Rachel had an idea. She said to Jacob, you can almost guess what this idea is going to be. Right?
What's the idea? An idea Sarah had when she couldn't have children?
Yeah. Here's my slave, Bilhah. Have sex with her.
And remind me again how that's going to give Rachel children?
Well, I think that because the slave belongs to Rachel, it's as though she possesses that slave, and so I guess she also possesses that slave's womb. And so in a way, she's just having a child for Rachel. Because the slave does anything that the master tells her to do.
Okay, so when I'm putting that in context with Abraham and Sarah, so Ishmael was really Sarah's son.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, probably that's what I don't know if that's what it would say on the birth certificate or not.
I don't either.
But I think that would be the way that it would be viewed. And that was the idea. Here, have sex with
my slave?
Yeah.
And whatever kids
Hagar,
result from that?
Yeah, have sex with Hagar, and that'll be our kid. Really.
Uh-huh. So Jacob had sex with Bilhah, who had 2 sons. So he had sex a lot with Bilhah, I guess.
Well, at least twice.
At least twice, okay. And the sons' names are Dan and Naphtali. Leah couldn't get pregnant again, so she gave Jacob her slave, Zilpah. This is getting complicated.
Yeah.
And the result was 2 baby boys, Gad and Asher.
So before, God opened her womb, but I guess he must have, and he gave her she got pregnant 4 times, but then sometime after that, her womb was closed again. I guess she couldn't get pregnant again. Mm-hmm. So luckily she had a slave, Zilpah, and she gave that slave to Jacob, and 2 boys were born, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's hard to keep all this straight.
Yes, it is.
We actually had to kind of draw it out in a little diagram to help us.
We have a diagram. If we can figure out a way to put it on the website, we'll do that for you.
Okay, so verse 14. Mm-hmm. One day, Reuben found some mandrakes, and he brought them to his mother Leah.
What's a mandrake?
A mandrake is a plant. It's an actual plant in the potato family, the Solanaceae family. And it has roots on it, kind of like a carrot.
Okay.
Sometimes those roots look a little bit maybe like they might be...
like they might look like a penis.
Yeah, so sometimes they're viewed as being an aphrodisiac.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I guess that's the way they're looking at it here. Reuben found them. He brought them to his mom, Leah. And then when Rachel found out about the mandrakes, she said to Leah, "Please give me your son's mandrakes." Leah replied, "You've already taken my husband. Now you want my mandrakes too?"
Yeah. So Rachel doesn't have any kids yet.
No kids.
So
yeah.
her womb is closed.
She's thinking that if she can get those mandrakes, then maybe the mandrakes will
Make her fertile.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
In a way that, obviously God didn't want her to be fertile.
Well,
so now she's thwarting God's intent.
I don't know, but I think
Okay.
she figures the mandrakes might be just the thing, just the ticket to get some kids here.
All right. Now you want my mandrakes too? And Rachel said, I'll trade you sex with Jacob for some of your mandrakes. So Rachel's giving her husband, I guess it's Leah's husband too, saying, so I guess he hasn't had sex with Leah for a while. Okay, so
I don't know.
When Jacob came home that evening, Leah went out to meet him, and she said, you must have sex with me tonight because I have hired you with mandrakes. How must the guy feel?
I guess it worked.
I guess so.
Because, God heard Leah. I don't know what she said. She must have prayed because he had closed her womb. It was open before and it was closed. And she conceived, bearing her fifth son for Jacob, Issachar. Oh. And Leah conceived again, bearing her sixth son, Zebulun. Finally, after 10 consecutive sons, a daughter is born.
Amazing.
Yeah, who is named Dinah. This would have been Leah's daughter. And God remembered Rachel. Oh yeah, she's that good-looking one that came to the well.
Oh, that's right. Because her womb has been closed this whole time.
That's right, and he opened her womb. I wonder if he had to come down to do that, or if he could do it remotely.
Remotely. Well, and I'm thinking, so the slaves, Bilhah and Zilpah, they never seem to have a problem with their wombs being closed and open.
Quite fertile, yeah. So he remembered Rachel and opened her womb. She conceived and bare a son, whom she named Joseph. Joseph.
That is an important
We're
name.
going to hear a lot about Joseph.
Okay, so we should get used to it. And we'll know now that his mother is Rachel?
His mother is Rachel, and so you can kind of see why he might be so special, this Joseph, because Rachel was the special one, the one that Jacob really liked. We don't know about God, but Jacob really liked her, so Joseph's going to probably be the favorite child. He's also the youngest.
Okay.
Because if you were to figure all this, you got 12 kids now. Mm-hmm. And so that means that we had to have about 12 years plus the 14.
Yeah.
So 26 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so this is verse 25. After Jacob's 12th child was born, 11 boys, 1 girl, he was ready to go back home. He asked Laban to give him his wives and children and let him go. So he had to ask permission.
Yeah, that does seem strange. It seems like he's been working there long enough that he ought to be able to just take his very large family and go.
Although he is going to be taking all of Laban's family away from him. Those are his 2 daughters. Well, do we know if he had more daughters?
No, I don't know. Okay. I don't remember. I don't think the Bible says.
Okay, because as a grandma, it's kind of nice to have your grandkids around.
Yeah, that might be the case here.
Okay, you want to finish this up?
Okay, verse 27. Laban asked Jacob to stay a little longer, since he believed that God blessed him for Jacob's sake.
Oh, so Laban was getting some good juju from God.
Yeah, I mean, he could tell that Jacob was one of God's favorites, and that clearly is the case. So he was right about that.
Okay, so verse 32. Jacob asked Laban for all the speckled and spotted goats. And Laban agreed to the deal. How is this a deal?
Well, I think maybe it was in payment for all of the time that he'd spent. He spent more than 20 years working there. So let me have the speckled and spotted goats, and then I'll leave. I'll leave with those. That's all I need, and my wives and kids.
So Jacob produced streaked, speckled, and spotted baby goats by having them copulate while looking at streaked rods. Okay, well, that's a line I don't even understand.
Oh, well, the way it worked was it's a sort of magical, but but you take a rod, just a regular wooden stick.
Okay.
And you mark it, you make it streaked by painting some some lines around it, right?
All right.
So you got a streaked rod. And then you go out where the goats are copulating.
Having sex.
Yeah, having sex.
Okay.
And you hold the rod, and so they can see the rod, or the rod is in the vicinity, the streaked rod. That's going to make streaked. That's going to make their babies streaked.
Like they have fur that is streaked.
Streaked, like the rod.
Oh, okay.
The rod is streaked, so that's going to mean that it was really clever, and
I guess it worked. In this way, Jacob became wealthy with many goats, I guess speckled, spotted, and streaked, camels, donkeys, and slaves. So wait a minute, did he do this?
I don't know if he did this when the slaves were copulating or not. And
okay, that's bizarre.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that exactly worked, and if I can find that out, if I see anything about that, I'll put it in the notes.
Okay, so that is the end of chapter 30 and the end of our podcast today. Do you have anything you want to add?
No. If I do find things that we've left out, I will put them in the notes.
Okay. Again, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.